Well, the NHL season is almost here, and with everyone doing their predictions and lists, I figure it's time to drop one of our own. So, this is a very honest top 10 player list going into the 2025-2026 NHL season. Now, before we start, let's lay some ground rules here. The criteria of how we put this together starts with film breakdown. Offensively, aside from pure stats, we've considered not only how the player excels in the team's offensive system, but how well the player themselves can single-handedly dismantle defensive structures and bend the game to their will. The same goes for defense, where we consider how they execute within their team structure based on their position and responsibilities. By breaking down both sides of the puck, I value players based on how important their particular game was in helping their team win on any given night. So heads up, no tendies on the list. I know, a goalie won the Hart Trophy, but they don't play 82 games. They're weird and inconsistent, so maybe we'll save them for another video. But let's get right into it now at the number 10 spot, which is Sid, the middle-aged man, Sidney Crosby. 38 years old, finished in the top 10 in scoring on a Pittsburgh team that made me want to claw my eyes out every time I watched them. Sid has still got it. In the NHL player vote, Crosby still has his peers vote as the smartest and best all-around player in the game. Offensively, what has made Sid so good forever is his versatility. The best description of him is he's a superstar grinder. He's the most dangerous below the goal line, where he can use his puck protection, edge work, and vision to separate himself from checkers and feed guys in the slot. Of course, he's never been shy as the F1 to get in on the forecheck, do the dirty work, and get his team possession. Sid's speed isn't what it once was at 38, but he counters most speed disadvantages in rush situations by manipulating defenders with speed changes and delays to hit the late man. The all-world passing and creativity is still there, and he's still one of the best goal scorers in and around the crease. His heat map from the 24-25 season reflects that, thanks to an all-world ability to tip pucks from any angle and a natural sixth sense when finding these tiny pockets of space to arrive on the puck. The fact that he put up 91 points on a brutal Penguins team is absolutely insane. Now, Crosby has always been praised for his defensive game, but the last few years have been tough on a terrible Penguins team. Speed in general on Pittsburgh is a massive problem. They were well below average when it came to any speed above 20 miles per hour as a team, and with Crosby usually defaulting below the goal line to create offense, the lack of foot speed from every Penguin made them susceptible to rush chances against. As a result, Crosby's defensive analytics are not great, and that side of the game has dipped for him a little bit. Lastly, though, his game and overall style is still tailor-made to thrive with the physicality and tight checking of the playoffs. One of the best big game players of this generation showed just how much he has left in the tank during the Four Nations, which is why everyone outside of Pittsburgh wants to hashtag save Sid and get him to a playoff team for one last run. Age and circumstance have affected elements of his game, but in a winner-take-all, I'm still taking Sid over most. Now, before we hop into number 9, this list is brought to you by the sponsor of today's video, Quillbot. Quillbot is a writing tool that helps me refine my writing. That alone has helped with the scripting, workflow, and editing of the channel, and I'm a big fan of that. It's not just about fixing spelling and grammar, though it does that very well. It also helps me adjust tone, fluency, and clarity when drafting an email or YouTube script. They got mobile apps too, which makes it easy to improve my writing on the go. So say I want to send a message in Italian but make it sound a little bit more natural. Boom, Quillbot helps me do that instantly with its multilingual keyboard and translate. Seriously though, it is a go-to tool for the behind the scenes of this channel. It's free to install with the link below, so make sure you check it out in the description. So coming in at number 9 going into the 25-26 season, we got Auston Matthews. One of the more polarizing players in the league, didn't have a great season last year by his standards. He missed 15 games due to a lingering injury that many suspected impacted him all season long. But when at 100% or close to it, there's perhaps no better goal scorer in the game than Auston Matthews. With Matthews, it's his range as a shooter that puts him in a league of his own. Yes, his shot is one of the best in the world that can flat out beat goaltenders, but it's his ability to penetrate coverages that make him a problem for defenses. Frequently slipping in and out of structures to find soft spots, he's usually arriving right on time to bang one home. Of course, his advantage is his size. Being 6'3" and 217, he can use his big frame to just win the valuable real estate around the net. It doesn't matter where the puck is in his vicinity, he can shift his hips and adjust to awkward pucks to be a shooting threat in all situations. A player who can score in just about any way possible is a nightmare to defend against. The Leafs also did switch to a more forecheck-reliant offense under Craig Berube last season, which could be a reason in a dip for production, as the Leafs as a whole were more inclined to dump the puck in instead of trying to create off the rush. However, with Matthews' size and thievery skills, He's a perfect fit for disrupting plays as the F1 and creating possession. As a perennial trigger man, though, he's always shined most as the F2 or F3 are ready to uncork one off a quick turnover or sustained ozone time. Now, it'll be very interesting to see if Matthews' offensive production is anywhere close without Mitch Marner feeding him by his side. But the best goal scorers in the game adapt, and we're going to see how firsthand this season. Now, the other strength of Matthews' game is his defensive impact. The 2024 Selke finalists can hang with the very best, keeping them off the scoreboard. In a Leafs defensive system that uses a ton of zone coverage, Matthews' size and stick work below the goal line is a perfect fit. Of course, the biggest knock on the man is playoff success. At times, he's had the reputation of becoming a complete ghost in the biggest moments, and as a result, it keeps him just outside of being in the conversation for higher in this list. Now, moving on to number 8 is David Pastrnak. The Bruins suck, finally for most fans, but David Pastrnak is still one of the best damn wingers in the league. To give you an idea of how good Pastrnak is and how shite the Bruins are, he finished with 49 more points than the second leading scorer on Boston and Morgan Geekie. He was also third in NHL scoring on an offense ranked 28th in the league. David Pastrnak is the Bruins offense. The man is Houdini. Now you see him, now you don't. His off-puck routes are some of the best in the game to put himself in scoring threats. In a situation where he lacks an elite supporting cast, Pasta's ability to hit gaps and play off the heels of defenders can make even average players look pretty damn good if they can just get him the puck. Even little pick plays like this off the rush are just the tiny details in his game that opens up space offensively for himself and his teammates. You'll usually see him drive the backside of a defender after dishing the puck to make himself an immediate scoring threat. Combine that with an all-world, deceptive, and explosive release that he unleashes off the left circle or in between checks, you have a player who led the entire NHL last season in even strength points. There may not be a player doing more with less at his disposal in terms of offensive output. A winger naturally has less defensive impact than a center or a defender, and while Pasta isn't anything to write home about defensively, he makes up for any of his deficiencies with his unbelievable offense. It's a damn shame Boston sucks because this man is in his prime and he's got a lot more to give. Just please, for the love of God, make sure he doesn't end up a Panther. Now, moving on to number 7, and speaking of superstar players stuck on brutal teams, Quinn the Batman Hughes comes in at the 7th spot. You shine his jersey number in the sky at night in Vancouver, Quinn Hughes comes out and saves the city. The Canucks' advanced numbers with and without Hughes are literally two entirely different teams. They are a playoff team with him on the ice, and if he didn't suffer an injury last season, he probably would have single-handedly willed the Canucks into the postseason. Hughes is arguably the purest puck mover in the league. Last season, he ranked second in the NHL for D-zone exits per 60, and that's because on breakouts, he's methodical and calculated. Whether it's disguising stretch passes, baiting forecheckers, or creating controlled exits at almost will with a combination of his skating and passing, Hughes is a slippery devil. He is virtually all of Vancouver's in-zone offense as well. The combination of edge work, deception, and poise when walking the blue line allows him to single-handedly dismantle defensive structures. Playing man-on-man, you're going to get burned. Playing a more zonal coverage, he's stepping in and using the space to make you look like a schmuck. He finished with 26 more points than the next Canuck, and he did it as a goddamn defenseman. When it comes to actually defending, Hughes has to leverage his skating and cerebral understanding of the game to shut down plays. At 5'10", he isn't overly big, but he uses his strengths to angle off plays, close gaps, and kill threats before they even develop. There is no better defenseman in the world going into next season, except for Cale Makar, who comes in at number 6. Now that there's a bounty on my head in the city of Vancouver, I'll make it clear that the margin between Hughes and Makar is razor thin, and in my opinion, truly comes down to preference. Offensively, Makar creates his chances in a very similar way to Hughes. Elite edge work, poise, and creativity are also at the core of his attack, but Makar is better at getting pucks through traffic. Makar led the NHL in long-range goals this season and had the most mid-range goals among defensemen. There's no one better at exposing a goalie's relaxed stance and getting pucks through traffic. A lot of Makar's goals have him catching goalies by surprise while perfectly leveraging screens. It ain't luck, it's skill, and as he walks the blue line, he's just so damn good at timing the traffic with the goalie's vision and getting a cheeky one from range. It's how he became one of the 9 NHL defensemen in history last year to score 30 goals. He led all defensemen in goals and even strength, power play, and shorthanded situations. His playmaking makes him a perfect fit with playing with MacKinnon, but it's his goal scoring that separates him offensively. Defensively, Makar was second amongst all D in takeaways, and his elite skating is a perfect fit in an Avs defensive system that uses a lot of man-on-man coverage and swarms down low. This combination creates a deadly threat of counterattacks to get Colorado back on offense, and it usually starts with Makar. He's got some FU to his game, he plays the penalty kill, and he's the reigning Norris Trophy winner, making him the best defenseman going into the 2025 season. Now to the top 5 we go, and at number 5 is Aleksander Barkov. Even though he has the least offensive output of pretty much anyone on this list, it's hard to argue that Barkov doesn't belong in this conversation. At 6'3", 215 pounds, Barkov dominates the middle of the ice virtually every shift. He's not just Florida's captain, he's their anchor, and in today's NHL, there's no better example of a true two-way center. The offensive numbers won't get you all horned up, but that's because Barkov rarely cheats the game. He plays the right way, and Florida's entire system is built on his ability to control the middle of the ice. At the core of the Panthers' success these past few years is their forecheck. They rely on their Ds to aggressively pinch down the walls with no hesitation, and they can do so because they know that they will have support. Barkov, as the center and usual F3, is the glue that holds Florida's game together. Whether it's staying above the puck so his D can pinch, supporting a winger to extend possession, or winning a board battle, Barkov sets the tone for that entire team and how they play. He led the entire NHL last season when it came to generating shots off the cycle and forecheck, and the rest of the Panthers follow his lead. To give you an idea of the defensive domination of Barkov, the Panthers have held McDavid, Kucherov, Pastrnak, and Panarin to just 7 goals in the past 42 playoff games. It's a team effort, but Barkov is the primary matchup and usually the one shutting them down. He won't score 100 points, but if you want a player who represents the foundation of winning hockey, Barkov is the guy and the core of back-to-back championship teams. Now next at number 4 is Leon Draisaitl, who has now become the most dangerous version of himself this offseason as Leon Draisaitl. The Rocket Richard winner and German doctor is far more than just Connor McDavid's accomplice. Really, these last 4 players can dictate the pace of the game at sheer will, but Draisaitl does it in a very unique way. Take his rush game. Off entries, Draisaitl loves to drive the middle lane and then deliberately slow up into a wide, almost stationary stance. Most players aren't a threat from this posture. Legs barely moving, puck cocked on the backhand, but for Draisaitl, it's baked. Defenders see stationary and think attack, and when that happens, he slips a pass under the triangle or around them to an open man. In the offensive zone, that same stance pulls multiple defenders toward him, and he thrives on attracting pressure and then punishing overcommitments with surgical passing. Now, if he does choose to speed things up, his size and physicality kicks in. At 6'2", 203, Draisaitl can extend his left arm to brush off sticks, drive through defenders' hands, and carve directly into the middle as a dual shooting and passing threat. He's also got a nice, comfy office at the bottom right circle where he can tee one home like a cheat code, and this mix of power, playmaking, and precision makes him one of the most complete offensive weapons in the world. Defensively, he's taken flack in the past few years, but was much improved last season in his 200-foot game. He uses his stick as effectively as his body, lurking for perfectly timed stick lifts in the defensive zone or batting pucks out of midair in the neutral zone to spark rushes the other way. Opponents have to be cautious with any puck near him as he can turn broken plays into transition opportunities very quickly for Edmonton. The German doctor is pretty much a lock every season to put up silly numbers, but so is number 3 on our list in Nikita Kucherov. Kucherov may be the most disrespected number 3 player ever. He's led the league in scoring 2 years in a row, now taking home back-to-back Art Ross trophies, yet he didn't take home league MVP in either year. What the f*** is that all about? Well, I'll tell ya. Kucherov gets a reputation for being a power play merchant, and I guess he is considering he led the league in power play points last year and the year prior. But some people don't think it's as valuable as someone who generates offense 5v5, which you maybe got a point, but Kucherov does both. There's no better playmaker or passer in the game than him, and the reason he's been able to rack up 80-plus assists in 3 straight seasons is because of how he dominates off the wall. 95% of hockey is played within 3 feet of the boards, yet most players struggle to consistently get the puck off the wall and into better ice. Not Kucherov. His ability to one-touch pucks on both the forehand and backhand makes him the most dangerous threat on the ice in the least dangerous spot on the ice. That alone catches defenses by surprise and makes containment very difficult. This first touch ability is also at the core of his power play dominance. He can tickle the rafters and wire one home, but his brilliance is in the bluff. That loaded shot posture pulls defenders out of structure, and in an instant, he's zipping one-touch passes into the bumper for point or firing cross-seam passes for an empty net. Few players can handle full-velocity passes the way Kucherov does, settling them, redirecting them, and keeping them flat with machine-like consistency. The best offense in the NHL last year belonged to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Kucherov is the main reason why. Now going to number 2 on this list is the dog Nathan MacKinnon. This guy is a bull in a china shop. Other than Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon is the only player in the world who can raise the pace of play to a level that no one else can really match. And when he gets chugging, it's an absolute freight train. The Avs are the fastest NHL roster by every measurable speed range, and MacKinnon is the engine, leading all players in both 20 mile per hour and 22 mile per hour plus speed burst last season. What separates him isn't just raw speed, it's his timing. MacKinnon is constantly building speed prior to possession, usually by taking wider or steeper routes away from the puck. He buys himself just an extra second to see how the 50-50 puck will play out, and if it's Colorado possession, he's already taken 2 or 3 powerful strides prior to his touch to get the puck in full flight. This type of speed has created a monster off the rush that no one can stop. Here's a chart that maps all 5v5 zone entries leading to scoring chances in these past playoffs. At the top right are all the best rush players in the NHL, McDavid, Eichel, and Kyle Connor. And all the way up here, in a stratosphere of his own, is the Nate Dogg. That's because MacKinnon weaponizes his speed in a variety of ways. If defensive structures sag and give up the blue line to avoid getting burned wide, he'll jam on the brakes and hit the late man. This blend of vertical explosiveness and lateral agility is what allows Colorado to layer their attack. Instead of always carrying the puck himself, MacKinnon will sometimes anchor at the offensive blue line, waiting for the play to develop underneath him. At first, it seems counterintuitive. Why wouldn't you want your fastest and most dangerous player to lead the rush? But with the Avs defensemen and wingers flying north and forcing coverages deep, MacKinnon suddenly inherits a massive gap advantage up high. Now he can use that lethal speed east-west to pull goalies laterally and make their life a living hell. MacKinnon is the most relentless pace driver in the sport, aside from maybe one other man in our number 1 spot. Yes, I know there are some honorable mentions that include Cody Ceci, Matt Rempe, and Jack Johnson, but edging out all of them is Connor McDavid at number 1. McDavid missed 15 games last season due to injury and still was second in points per game in the NHL, as well as being tied for first in playoff points. Whatever I've said about every other player on this list aside from MacKinnon, McDavid could probably execute it at 2 times the speed. When it comes to straightaway speed with the puck, the guy would be ticketed for speeding in a school zone going just over 25 miles per hour. His skill set is so refined and so advanced that it excels in every offensive scenario. Off the rush, on the power play, during the cycle, closing in on the forecheck, his blend of speed, skill, and IQ makes containment the only option, as you can't fully stop him. The scariest part is that by his standards, he felt he had an off year, and he's openly come out and said that going into this season, he wants to prove that scoring 50 or 60 is not a one-off, which is potentially the most terrifying quote a hockey fan of any other team could read. He's putting up point-per-game numbers that only rival Lemieux and Gretzky, and as he's hit his stride, his defensive game has become world-class as well. Playing the penalty kill and always being matched up against everyone's best, McDavid's speed and anticipation makes him really effective at breaking up rush plays and closing gaps with back pressure. He knows more than anyone that if he wants to win a ring, his defensive game has to be just as good, if not better, than his offensive instincts. These past playoffs showed firsthand how dialed in he was on both sides of the puck, and yet it still wasn't enough. Regardless, McDavid is the type of talent that we may never see again, and he heads into the 2025-2026 season as the best player in the NHL. So, what do you think of the list? Who got snubbed? Who deserves to be higher? Let me know in the comments down below so that each fan base can clearly put a bounty on my head. We're going to have season previews for every team coming very soon, along with other deep breakdowns and eventually weekly recaps during the season. So, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you can be ready for the upcoming NHL season.